Well, the year of the horse has come around again, which is my birth year in the Chinese zodiac with its 12-year cycle. So you can tell how old I probably have become. And I've marked both this and the last of these years with the purchase of a special edition Moleskine notebook, or actually multiple. I've loved notebooks and writing in them ever since my childhood. I had my diaries, my notebooks I filled with ideas and plans, and I kept something like a habit or actually a learning tracker in the form of my journals. I don't think that I ever kept them as diaries for anything daily, at least not much. I've always had phases in which I used them more or less. And there was also the shift of some of that writing going online as I wrote the blog and made YouTube videos. I loved the notebooks, especially since I saw Indiana Jones' father's Holy Grail notebook. Yes, I was a kid. I was a kid who wanted to write, who wanted to explore something of the world and didn't really get a chance for it, and who wanted to learn a lot. And so this really struck me, and I think I already had notebooks that I used at the time. Then there was the Young Indiana Jones TV show where he gets these notebooks or this notebook to fill with observations about his experiences on a journey around the world with crazy experiences. And I really loved it. And well, that was at a time when we barely had personal digital assistants with calendars and note functions when it comes to electronic digital devices. There was no internet for me at that time. A smart digital notebook that could access information for you was something I can only remember ever seeing in an Inspector Gadget. His sidekick had something like this. It was a dream in real life, and I think a good one. Book smart was still a thing and better than the always online stupidity we have now, but I digress. It's obvious, I guess, that I haven't written quite as much in the last 12 years as I might have, because I still haven't filled this notebook, which is Moleskine's 2014. Yeah, that makes for 2026 being 12 years later. Year of the Horse notebook. It had this tangram figure of a horse looking both ways on the cover. I don't think at that time they ever made other notebooks, maybe a second version, but certainly not so much more. Well, and full or not, it is a tactile reminder that more than a decade has passed. Looking through it now, I can see why I'm still the same. Not the least, I'm still curious about the world, concerned about its future, and wanted to learn a lot. And I always still want to get too much done in too many different areas. But it's also a great reminder of how much has changed. My wife was already my wife back in 2014, but I was still struggling with anything like a career. One of the reasons I didn't write quite as much during the years since then was that I still spent some time in China, away from my wife, working there during this time of our lives. Having lived through my writing from this period, I feel a pretty great sense of relief and progress, though. Being a teacher is a tough job, but I'm now in the 6th year of it, so half of the period covered in that notebook. And I've finally come into my own, I feel, into something that feels like stability and a solid foundation for further exploration. I wonder how this sounds to someone who is young now. Stability might sound stale and unexciting, and at the same time like a distant dream. It's so common to complain that young people now have it so much worse, or we had it so much worse. Still, haven't we? The school back and forth on foot, both directions, climbing through the snow, as the joke goes. But seriously, when I look back a bit further than this goes, I see the complaint about the generation 1,000 euro, about people, young people who could only find internships that paid them a monthly $1,000. I had done my 2 doctorates by that time and couldn't even find internships like that. I usually didn't even have 1,000 euros a month. There's a lot of maybes of mine about that time, but it's all past. And it makes me tremendously happy, though, all in all, that I am in a tough 9 to 5 now. That is hard, that many people quit. Have you seen all the videos of teachers who are quitting? That is very much a lot of trouble, but that I also do find rewarding, not least because I had enough trouble before. And of course, there's the big fact that during this time, more recently, still 4 years ago at most, I became a father, and then a father of a second girl. So those 12 years really changed a lot. It now takes away a lot of time. The next 12 years are going to be very different because they are with children, with a family. It takes away a lot of time that I would want to write, to learn, to do things that are different. But of course, it also gives me a lot of life and also some ideas for what I want and why I want to write, to share ideas, to do a lot. For that, a material change has come in handy, which is that Moleskine's notebooks for the Year of the Horse 2026 for this year have come around, and I've gone for actually 2 of their gift set boxes for those. This is the one for the more standard nice notebook, which comes with this Year of the Horse notebook, and actually a Kaweco pen and some washi tape. And actually in the notebook I think there are some hongbao, some red envelopes, and this thinner accordion, they called it Japanese album before, notebook, where I want to, and I've started to, write about my life again, about the usual things, some, whenever I get to it and want to get to it, notes about my life here in this notebook. The Japanese album accordion style notebook I want to use for a bit of a look into family history, which I started last summer actually, because I was really wondering what my family history, my ancestry actually was like. I hope I will get some chance of working on that also on my wife's side. This is a bit more difficult because she's a daughter in a Chinese family, and so her ancestral tablets, so to say, are not supposed to go to her. And she and her mom, her dad died during COVID, not because of that, but of some cancer. Well, she's not into this very much, but I think it would be interesting to see about her line as well. For me, it has been interesting because I never knew my maternal grandfather, although he was still alive. He died a bit after, well, quite a bit after I was born. But that was a story of a relatively early divorce, of a divorce before I was even born. So yeah, I never met him. I only learned that he had still been alive when he was dead. And he actually had some sort of Nazi past, which is of course a bit of a weird issue. And it's very weird because it gave me quite a bit of knowledge about my maternal side, my grandmother on my mom's side, who had married him and for the marriage needed the Arya-Nachweis, the confirmation that she was of Aryan descent. On my dad's side, things are somewhat better known, but of course also more diffuse because there are more people around there. This is maybe going to be a story for another video or something else, but as you can tell, it's a lot of work for which there's not really time, but kind of interesting. And then there's also this, the creative set, which doesn't want to open at the moment. This comes with Blackwing pencils, and this version of the Year of the Horse notebook, which also is lined paper, ruled paper in English, right? I will see what I want to use this for, probably for a learning journal. We'll see. This way or that. It's been nice to have seen this change or to have gotten those as another reminder that this Year of the Horse has come around. There's also a sort of memento mori around it that I will definitely do a video on, because of course a 12-year cycle makes you quite aware of how time is passing. Anyways, I really want to talk a bit about writing in a few videos now, because there's a lot happening in this simplest of worlds of our own lives, of our learning, but it's not happening in a simple way if you really look into the discussions around it. And I want to contribute some ideas there. Part 1 here, apparently, how you can, by journals, by notebooks, see a reminder of how time changes and how you change with times by a bit of life writing. And we'll get to more of that actually in the next video, or the next video in this series anyways. Stay tuned and stay curious.